Today I will share with you when to repot a tree, when not to repot a tree, and how big of a pot you should repot it to or pot it to. Hello everyone, thank you for watching my video today and welcome to GreenMangoes. If you are new, please help me subscribe to the channel and support us. Today I will share with you 3 things what you should do when this tree gets to this size. When to uppot a tree, and second is when not to uppot a tree, and when you do repot it to a bigger size, how big of a pot you should repot it to. And today here I got my longan tree here, and the first things to keep in mind when you want to identify is it time to repot a tree yet. The first thing you should know is that try to make sure if you hold a tree, and if you look closer on the root ball here, and if you try to lift this part up here and everything stay intact, that means that the root ball is big enough for you to repot. And when I open this, you can probably see roots starting to be root bound around here, and so this is a first indication that it is ready to go to the bigger pot. Otherwise it will be getting root bound. The second indication where you can tell when to repot or uppot is when you see new growth in the plants. And this new growth means that the tree is starting to grow. So when you do repot it to a bigger pot, it will not, when it's stressed, it will also starting a new leaves, a new branch. So this is a good way to tell when to repot as well. And the third thing that used to be considered when repotting is you have to understand when the growing season of the tree is. And every plants are different, every trees are different, and one could be the early spring, one could be in the late spring. Some trees could be growing, starting new growth in the summer or in the fall. So make sure you understand when the growing season of your tree is. This longan, when I bought this from the nursery, I got shipped here. It took a while. Now it is the end of April in Las Vegas, and I'm starting to see new growth. So I know that when I fertilize this and feed this, new leaves, new branches will start growing out. So those are the 3 things for you to know when to repot a tree. So if I put this out here, you can see that there are roots around the root ball here, and it's starting to be root bound here. This is a really good indicator that when the roots are this big, it can hold on to all the soil. This soil is very loose. It's a lot of sand, about 30 to 40% sand, a lot of wood chips, and very loose and well drained. So when the root ball is not big enough yet, everything will fall apart. So make sure that when you lift up the tree here, everything still stay intact. That's a really good indicator. So the next thing I want to talk about is when not to repot the tree. The first thing is when you first buy the tree from a nursery or got shipped home, you should never repot or plant it immediately, because the tree haven't acclimated to your climate, haven't acclimated to the area you're going to plant it yet. So it will go through a period of stress, at least 2 to 4 weeks. Depending on some trees, some come back a lot faster than others, but most trees, for a good rule of thumb, 1 or 2 months. I usually keep it at least a month or 2 months or so until you can see new growth and the tree starting to be healthy again, and then you know that the tree is no longer in stress. Because when it's stressing out already, and you move it into a different pot or planting on in ground, it stresses even more, and then chances are it will die. So that's the first thing you should keep in mind when not to repot. And the second thing you should keep in mind is when your tree are starting to show buds and flowers. That's when the tree takes all the energies to produce flowers and fruit for you. And at that moment, if you repot or plant the tree, the trees will, if it stresses out, flowers and buds will drop, because it's not the time where it focuses on developing the root anymore, but it's on the flowers. So when you do plant it, all the flowers will die, and then the root it's the wrong time when the root ball is not developing and it doesn't grow. So chances are it also will die. And the time not to repot or plant your tree is when it goes to dormant, especially in the winter months when leaves are dropping and then the trees go to dormant, they want to go to sleep. That's when you don't want to plant it or repot it, because if it stresses out, it doesn't spit out new growth and it just go to dormant and just starting to dry up and die. And those are the two things to keep in mind when to repot and when not to repot. And last is, when you do repot, what size of a pot do you go to? So a container, a pot is measured in gallons, and this is not liquid gallon like 5 gallons or 6 gallons. You go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you get that 5-gallon bucket. It is actually 5 gallons, but the nursery pot has a different measurement. So this is considered as 3 gallons here. This is a 7 gallon, and there's also a 10 gallon, which I don't have here, but it's in between the 7 and the 15. So as you may see, this is called 15 gallons nursery pot, but it doesn't contain 15 liquid gallons. And the next size is the 25 gallons, and this is for a bigger tree. And for a tree that came out of a 3-gallon container like this, you want to go to 7, 10, or 15. The 7 is a little bit smaller. I don't have a 10, so I'll go to a 15. You do not want to repot this in a 25-gallon container. The reason is because the root ball is so small and this pot is so big with a lot of soil. So when you do repot into this big of a container, and when every day you water the plants, what happens is the root ball is not big enough to intake all the water and feed the plants, but rather it stay around the pot and in the bottom on the bottom of the pot, and that in turn will slowly rotten away your root ball. So go up in increment. I think this one is ready for the 15-gallon container. So you may see here, I have about 3 inches on each side of the pot here, and I'll pot it up to about 2 inches, leave it about 2 inches so that when I water, it doesn't flow off the pot. And so that's kind of the rule of thumb, what to do when you repot. So for the bonus, I will show you for this longing what kind of soil mix I will use, and then how I will repot it. For longing, you do want very well drained soil. You do not want anything that's too rich, and also mix about 20 to 30% of sand into the soil. And what it does is, in turns, the sand and also the cactus soil will be very loose, and when watering these plants, water will flow immediately to the bottom of the pot, and it doesn't stay and rotten away your root ball. So this is my cactus and palm mixed with sand, and this mix is not very rich, but very loose and well drained. It doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it, but then I can feed it very often since it's been in a pot. If I pick up this soil and try to squeeze it, let it go, and if it breaks apart, then that means it's the right soil for your tropical plants, especially this longan. Again, pick it up, squeeze it, let go, and it's very loose. So this is ready to go into the pot. plug it in and see. That looks good. So I try to position in a way that it's center in the pot, and that looks pretty good. So now I will backfill. So now that I finished backfill this pot, firmly press to make sure that it get rid of all the bubbles in between the soil, and do not bury the root flares too deep, otherwise you get suffocated. The next thing and the last thing I want to do is to make sure that we help this tree not to get into a stress mode. So the first thing is I'll mix a tablespoon of this root and grow root stimulator to help transplant shocks, and this is a 5-gallon container here, and I'll put about 5. I'll just approximate 5 tablespoons of that. And this is the same thing, transplant socks. If you notice, the new growth on these leaves are better, healthier, but the older leaves is lack of iron, zinc, and magnesium, and show a little bit of burn from salts. So when you water from tap water from your house, it leaves the salt around and it will burn the leaves like this sense. So what I will do is I will help add iron and zinc to this plant, and also Epsom salt, which contains magnesium sulfate, and that will also help with nutrient deficiency on this right here. And 1 tablespoon per gallon, so about 5 tablespoons or so. I do this so much that I don't need measurement anymore. I just approximate and mix them up well. About 30 seconds to a minute here, and pause it. Okay. So now that I thoroughly mixed this this water solution, I'll just make sure I saturate this longan very, very good. As you can see that as I water it, it soaks immediately and drain. You don't see water sitting in the pot. It should take about 20 to 30 seconds to drain immediately, and you don't want to see water sticking on the pot or inside the pot. And in a bit here, you can see that the water will run out to the bottom. That's when you know that your mix is well drained and it's good enough for your tropical plants. Water about 2 to 3 gallons here, and we call it good. Okay, that should be good, and take about 20 to 30 seconds. As you can see up on the top here, the water immediately soaks into the pot and drains. It will run out in a little bit here, but you don't see water standing on the top or anything. It just drains out immediately. So that's it. The 3 things we remember is 1, when to repot, and when not to repot, and when you do repot, what size do you go up to? Make sure you don't repot it to a container too big. As you can see here, the water after 30 seconds, it just immediately just rushes out of the pot here, and it doesn't stay inside the pot to rot away your plant. And that's when you know that you are successful here. Thank you for watching the video today. I hope that you are successful at growing your tropical trees or any kind of tree in container. These rules apply for most of the trees in container, and especially tropical trees. So thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of luck.